But where does he begin for the first time in his letter-writing career to actually speak of the church as the body of Christ? And the answer is 1 Corinthians 10:17. In 1 Corinthians 10:17, we've heard this before. He says, because there is one bread, we who are many are one body, for we all partake of the one bread. What one bread is he talking about? The gigantic loaf that was baked in the Corinthian oven? No, it wasn't one bread in the sense of one loaf. There might have been several loaves, but there's still only one bread because it's the Eucharist. There's only one body. And so because we who are many partake of the bread, we who are many are one body. Now you might think that's just me being a kind of Catholic convert. You know, like a ventriloquist throws his voice into the mouth of the dummy. So let's make Paul sound like a Catholic. I would propose that it's almost exactly the opposite. Because look at the immediately preceding verse. In 1 Corinthians 10, verse 16, what does Paul declare? The bread which we break, is it not a koinonia, participation in the body of Christ? The cup of blessing which we bless, is it not a communion in the blood of Christ? Because there is one bread, we who are many are one body, for we all partake of the one bread. Verse 17 follows from verse 16. And verse 16 identifies the bread with the body of Christ and the cup of blessing with the blood of Christ. So because we receive the Eucharist as the actual body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ, guess what happens to us? We become what we eat. We're baptized into that body, but we're nurtured through communion upon the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Christ. The first time he ever identifies the body of Christ, he calls it the Eucharist. One verse later, it's not just Eucharistic, it is also ecclesial. It's the church. It's not a kind of organization that Jesus founded and prays for. It's more like an organism. The way your body is, the way mine is. But we are members of Christ's body as arms and legs and fingers and toes, more than my arms and legs and fingers and toes are members of my body. Because 50 years from now, I will be probably very dead, and my body, my arms and my legs will probably be worm food or dust. Whereas Christ's immortal body assimilates us so that when we receive Holy Communion, it's not an ordinary meal. You know, like if you go to McDonald's and you have a Big Mac, a day later, there's no more Big Mac. It's part of my body, or yours. Pray for that poor body. But as St. Augustine explained following St. Paul, when we receive the Eucharistic body of Christ a day later, we are members of that body. We have become united to that body. We don't just digest that and then evacuate. No, he digests us and draws us closer and closer. And not just me, but you, not just me and you, but us in one body. Not my body, not yours. And this is why he said to the Romans, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice. Our bodies are plural, but there's only one single sacrifice, that is the Eucharist. All of the teaching of the Catholic Church about the real presence, transubstantiation, the words of consecration, and on, that have been radically transformed ever since I watched my fourth child become Father Jeremiah. Up until that day, I was the only breadwinner in my family. But this is almost too good to be true. But what if it's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that we call the Catholic faith? Then it's time that we reapproach it, we reappropriate it. And we realize this is more than Catholic doctrine. These are more than Catholic talking points. These are sacred mysteries that exceed all of the knowledge of the world. The greatest scientists and philosophers couldn't have designed this.